I have recently heard that one of the biggest marketing challenges going into 2023 is that disconnect between seed level and sales and marketing. But my guest today has closed that gap. But before we get started, my name is Donna Peterson, and you are listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast, where I go all over the world to talk with business leaders and marketing executives about what is working, what is helping their businesses grow into the future. So let's jump in. Good morning, Ken. How are you today?
Good morning, Donna. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this interview, quite frankly. Audience is such an important part of our business.
Yes, and it's very interesting because Ken Spaeth is the CFO of Cutting Tool Engineering. And so now my first question for you, Ken, is how are you going to close that gap between the seed level and sales and marketing?
Well, I'll tell you, the funny thing about that is, as the CFO, you crunch the numbers, and it's about seeing how many calls are being done, what the activity that the sales staff is conducting at the C level. Okay, now we had some transition. We had a salesman leave, and I took it upon myself to get to the C level. I carved out a portion of the sales territory in the east, if you will, northeast. And so I'm kind of boots on the ground because I had to get a flavor for, what are our advertisers looking for? And quite frankly, it's been eye-opening in terms of some of the things that I've learned. Number one, it's a matter of, there seems to be a bit of a transition in the industry, with the pandemic, with supply chain issues. It's really thrown a bit of a wrench with manufacturers into their business operations. And so advertising in general has been somewhat of a problematic thing for them. Yeah. They know that they have to go forward with advertising, that they cannot stop it. But they're a little hesitant. So when you would normally have advertisers that would put a program in, soup to nuts, January to December, now it's more like, let's go either by quarter, or let's go month to month, or we're going to skip this month because we want the dust to settle.
Yeah. Well, you see that all the time whenever things get hard. So as we might be entering a recession, people like to cut the marketing and the advertising.
Right. Right.
But when you do that, and I know people are probably saying, oh, Donna, you're in marketing. Of course you're saying this, but when you do that, it kind of stops the momentum of everything you've done. And so I'll tell clients, okay, I understand we have financial constraints, but how about we cut it back, but we keep going forward.
Right. Right. No, you're exactly right, Donna. And I think that the savvy marketing directors, the savvy owners, they understand that. They really do. They will cut back, or they will, instead of going every month, every other month or something. That's what we did see in 2021. We saw it a little bit in 2020. Programs were already put in place. Some pulled out, some didn't. But in 2021, we really did see a lot of that. We still had some of it in 2022, but I think what happened was the ones that aren't as savvy, they started to back away from it because, well, if our sales are here, or they backed away for a specific reason.
But then
the more sales they had, they couldn't fulfill them because of supply chain issues.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I wasn't thinking about that.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But I still think you've got it for the branding purposes. It's important that they still keep their name out there. Otherwise, people might think, oh my goodness, they're not here anymore. Did they go under?
Right. And that's what we proselytize. We scream it from the mountaintops that print is the branding. That's your branding avenue. That's your number one, I believe, in publishing, that's the number one way to get your brand name out there.
Right.
But what we saw is they would transition. Well, how about if we do more digital? It's usually less expensive, but
Yes.
the digital, that's our subscribers. I mean, we've got 40 plus some thousand in print subscribers,
Yeah.
and they're reading the magazine. And if your advertisement is not in there, they're not seeing it. And
Yep.
these are the presidents, the owners, managers. We've got, over 40,000 of those guys are in that category, and they're the guys that make the decisions. So
Right.
if you're not in there, out of sight, out of mind.
But also, if you have a good publication that is offering valuable content, and right now I'm in my recording studio space, but if I was by my desk, I have my Cutting Tool Engineering magazine right here. I keep industry specific magazines that I get here because I constantly go back to see what is the content, who would be interested in this article, because it helps me figure out when to recommend your list for marketing purposes.
And I'll tell you what, Donna, you make it a good point. You mentioned you keep the magazine on your desk. Mm-hmm. It was interesting now that I quote unquote have boots on the ground. I'm out there in the territory. That was one of the first things that I would look for, is when I'd walk into the foyer or the office area, I look for the magazines, and is Cutting Tool in there? And usually 8 times out of 10, it's there. It's right there, right in the front and on the coffee table. Now, it might not be the latest issue, but we're there. And so I think that makes a big difference. And if it's not there, then it's my job to get it there. So.
That's when you go in and say, hey, why isn't my magazine on this table?
Exactly. So, yeah. So, and that's been the best part for me as the CFO, the numbers cruncher, the guy that wants to save money, improve efficiency, improve profitability. But if I didn't get out on the ground and talk to the advertisers, I think it would do our company, Cutting Tool Engineering, a disservice, quite frankly. And it's been, I think, very fruitful over the last year. So
I also think it probably gives you good insight for your sales team, because now you're not asking them for unrealistic goals, because hands-on, how many sales calls you can make. Are you going to go out in person or not? And as you and we've met in person.
Right.
And like you just said, going into the lobby, you get to see the magazine. That only happens when you go in person.
Well, you're exactly right. When we acquired Cutting Tool Engineering back in 2018, my brother and I was in banking for umpteen years, and so as part of that, it's sales. Everything is sales, and you have to produce, right? Mm-hmm. And so, as a manager, I produced. I had production goals, and I think it's critical for managers to have production goals. And that was another reason I took this portion and carve out for the territory on myself. And the other thing is, I'm not as experienced in the publishing industry. I'll admit that, absolutely. Yeah. However, I know numbers, and I know what sales are, and I know what it takes to do sales. And I know face-to-face meetings are the best way to develop relationships. And so that's another reason I went out there. But to your point, so overcoming objections in sales is the number one way to succeed, to understand how to do that. And so one of the things that was problematic was, we don't do enough of this, or we don't do enough of that. Yeah. And so now that I have my boots on the ground, I know exactly what's going on out there, from ad agencies to small machine shops. I know what they're talking about. And so, the excuses or the objections, they don't carry as much weight as they once did. So.
No, but that's also what's helping you. I know Cutting Tool Engineering right now, you have over 66,000 subscribers.
And yeah. No doubt about that.
Is this helping you attract those new subscribers and keep them year after year?
Well, we spend a great deal of money on circulation, on our subscribers, right? it's more important now to do that with, because of this staffing turnover that's been felt around across the industry due to the pandemic, due to a lesser extent to economic challenges. But how do we keep our subscribers interested, Donna? Well, in short, CTE stays on top of the evolving technological advancements that impact manufacturing. We do it in a number of ways. We meet with industry experts, contributors, companies that contribute articles and columns. We have our staff writers that write solicit articles from end users, suppliers, contributors, freelancers, as well as papers given at seminars, universities, and research facilities, Donna.
So it sounds like you've got valuable content for people in all different lines of the engineering process and manufacturing process.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, what are some of the, I'm sorry, but what I was looking at was, CTE delivers a steady stream of tutorial and how-to videos as well. So how do we keep them interested? One of the things that we saw was videos are huge when it comes to reader retention.
Yes.
I don't have the term, but it attracts them, and if they see the video and then they want to learn a little bit more about whatever.
So you do the acquisition and the retention, and video seems to be one of your top areas.
Oh yeah. And it's one of the things that we did recently. We talk about your circulation in general, and how reliable is it? Well, you have a third party BPA auditing firm that audits our circulation, right? And one of the things that—
So let me just point out, just so people know, because some people may not know what BPA is.
Sure.
I realize that. So that's business publication audit, correct?
Correct. So, BPA was founded, I think, in 1931.
Yes.
And you know who it was founded by? It was founded by advertisers. it was founded by ad agencies.
Well, but why? I could see that. I can see that
because they wanted to have reliability,
right,
authentication in the audience that they're spending their advertising dollars on. And
right.
So it's kind of funny because I never really thought about that until my brother Dennis goes, well, that's why BPA exists. They want to have reliability, and it's a third party audit. And I always say that, from my days in banking, financial statements, what's more believable, company prepared financial statement or an audited financial statement by a CPA firm? Well, you're going to look at the CPA firm's audited financial statement, right? And so that's what BPA worldwide does is they audit our circulation. So
because
when I say we have 66,000, we have 66,000. I mean, it's here in a third party audit.
Right. Well, that's what we do all the time when we're going to look at sources for our clients. We'll go look at their BPA statement because we'll see, is that where our client's target audience is? Are those the titles? Are those the industries or the size or the geo that our clients need? And they're such a valuable piece of information for us. Right.
And, it's interesting. And here, back to the boots on the ground concept, so what I was hearing all the time, BPA, we have to have good BPA, and we understand that, we know that, but we've seen some publications that are coming out that have, they say they have 80,000 circulation subscribers, but there's no BPA. The pricing for ads is very similar across in the competitive set.
Right.
But, and so I ask my agencies, contacts. So when you're looking to place your ad dollars for your clients, I said, are you looking at the BPA? Most say yes. But
Mhm.
there was more than I thought would say, yeah, it's important, but what's more important, the advertisers are looking for an opportunity not to put all their eggs in one basket. They want to
Right.
spread that out, and so they hear of a XYZ manufacturing
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
magazine, and we'll put some ads over there, and so it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. I'm hearing a little bit more of that. And so really what it comes down to, and that's why I thought this interview, this podcast to me is so important, because
Yeah.
it hits home the hammer on the head of the nail. Audience, audience, audience.
Right.
And what's the sense of spending $100 on something that you have no idea where it's going to or who's seeing it,
Right.
as opposed to one where you can pick up a third party audit and go, I know who's getting this. I
Right.
know who's reading it, you
I
know.
have that same issue every day because I'll have clients saying, Donna, we want new publications, recommend something new. And I always do look for new things, but if it doesn't have an audit statement, if
Right.
I can't dig down to make sure that everything is compliant and clean, and, with World Innovators being around for 42 years, we have a lot of history, tracking history in-house.
Right.
If I've seen that things have not responded well, we'll go out with small test orders, but if it doesn't produce again, it doesn't get used. And it's
Right. Right.
very important to do your due diligence when you look into sources to make sure it's reaching that exact target audience, not based only on what the publisher is saying.
Right.
What are independent people saying?
Right. I think that, that is super important. One of the things that we offer is our ad bonus, is, Donna, is the chance for advertisers to see how effective their ad is. For ad perception studies, we use a company called Redex. And to your point, well, how effective is it?
Right.
And that's a great way for advertisers to go, okay, this is how this ad performed. And I'll tell you what, I've had salesmen go, there's a kind of a negative comment in there.
Yeah.
And I go, so you want me to pull out the negative comments? That's opposite of what the point is.
Right.
You call them up and go, I've got your ad perception. There's some really good comments on there, but there's a couple of things that I left in there. I want you to see it.
Take
And,
it and tweak it, right?
yeah. And
Take that
so,
information and turn it
right. The
around.
salesmen are like, wow, they're going to be mad at me. Well, no, they shouldn't be mad at you. They should thank you, because now they have to do something. They have to be proactive
Right.
and correct that,
Instead
so
of
sometimes they
just
don't get that.
right, instead of just keep doing the same thing, which I
Right.
do find manufacturers have a tendency to do, because I want to say an older demographic. I'm in that older demographic, but that older
I'm with
demographic
you.
where we like to stay with the traditional, stay with the same thing. We don't want to change. And you and I discussed, marketing has changed so much.
It sure has.
Everything you do, you've got to look at it, analyze it. And if it's not working, tweak it, pivot, go do it, change it.
Well, I'll tell you, and that's one of the advantages that I think Cutting Tool Engineering has, is we're not a conglomerate, publisher. We don't have, 40 channels and steps to go make a decision. If we see something on the ground, something that makes sense, redo it. We don't go through corporate, red tape to get something done. We just,
it doesn't take you like 3 or 4 years to get something implemented.
Right.
We're the same way here, and we love it because tomorrow something can come up and it can get put in motion. We can change it.
Absolutely.
And that's how we work with our clients, because when we set out their marketing, we say the same thing. We'll analyze it. If we notice something, we're going to pivot right away. We're going to change it so that as you go out, the results will get better and better.
Right, right.
So now I think we've hit on this already, but what do you think are the biggest challenges for your subscribers?
Well, given that nearly 70% of our core audience work as corporate managers, I think not surprisingly, the biggest challenge these days is finding employees with the right skill sets, or employees that are willing to be trained for these companies. Not necessarily for cutting tool engineering. I'm talking for the manufacturing industry in general.
Right.
Industry analysts predict the number of unfilled manufacturing jobs is going to top over 2 million by 2030, which is quite frankly crazy. I mean, I look at my own kids. I've got a busload of kids, and some of them have taken to and gotten their college degree, but others haven't. And I'm like, listen, your brother, your sister's got these mountains of student loan debt,
Right.
not too bad, but a lot of people have it, a ton of debt. You can get into the manufacturing industry and not have the student debt and make a 5 or 6 figure salary that's very comfortable. In a matter of 5 years, you could be making really good money.
And it might be something they're really interested in doing, because it could be using their hands or doing the engineering aspect of it or the management. And I agree. Find out what I always say, figure out your attributes. What are your best attributes, and then match it to a job. And it doesn't matter what it is or where.
Right. Aside from the shortage of skilled labor, I think our audience is grappling with supply chain issues, reevaluating just-in-time processes. They're worried about key materials and products, and they're searching for secondary supply sources, So I think those are all elements that we talked about earlier. That put they pump the brakes a little bit on their advertising, because what do we say? Marketing is the one that first, you're gonna
cut back on,
cure the budget ills, if you will, by backing off on that. So.
Right. And as you know, the whole reason you and I started working together is I work with a lot of industrial auctions. And the industrial auctions are the ones who are bringing that equipment that these manufacturers need into their facilities sooner than if they waited for new. So it's always, that's why you and I have a good match here together.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That it makes all kinds of sense.
So now cutting tool engineering has so many different marketing channels. Which one do you feel has been the most effective recently?
Well, it's interesting. We think obviously print is king for branding, but the digital element has evolved and greatly. I mean, technology, new technology is coming along every day. You have to. It's so important to keep up with the technology on the digital side of things. And technology from a marketing, a publishing perspective, as well as the technological advances in the manufacturing industry. I mean, they kind of mesh together, and there's a lot of synergy there. We don't believe in just one media platform. We believe in them all. We think print, magazine, website, video streaming, the ever-growing social media is the way to go. And
I agree with that, because it's all about building that relationship now. And if you want to really connect with someone, it can't just be one channel.
Right. Marketers, they need to get their messaging out in front of the audience, no matter what the vehicle is, what the media platform is. And we reach, let's see, what is it? Over 40,000 metal networking professionals, 40,000 prefer digital media platform or another. I think we have over 100,000 in opt-in email addresses of people that want to get our content. So, and you get it to them in a number of ways, as I mentioned. And I'll tell you what, the social media one is one of the ones that we've focused on a little bit more over probably the past year. We started reporting that on our BPA as well. So now we've got, social media includes everything. When you say social media, I mean, that can include obviously Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But it also includes Pinterest, Instagram. Instagram is growing just because, to me, it's that's a blurred line between Facebook and Instagram. I'm
Yeah,
not sure what the difference is. LinkedIn though is a tougher one to really build organically, and but
right.
we've got over 55,000 or so followers across
That's
those
good.
three:
Yeah, yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So those are the main ones.
So that brings me to an interesting question, because I was going to go and ask you again, being an older demographic, do you really feel that podcasting or social media can be effective? And it sounds like you just answered that for
Oh
us.
yeah. Oh no. We think it is super effective, and i.e. there's another reason that I'm doing this with you, because I need to get my feet more wet in doing these types of things. And I've had conversations with my brother Dennis, who's the owner and CEO also.
Mhm.
He agrees doing podcasts would be a very good way for cutting tool engineering to spread the word. Another channel, if you
Yes.
will, quite
Yeah.
frankly, is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know
so
I started the podcast just because I wanted more people to be out there talking about quality marketing, quality sources to use, because there's people are being bombarded with messages. Oh, you should use this. We've got a list of 1 million records. We can pick it this way and that way. And it's like, be careful, people. That is junk data. It's not compliant. It's not opted in.
yeah,
And
yep,
I want to be out there
absolutely.
telling people the right way to do it, so that they look at marketing and say, hey, it does work when it's done properly.
Yeah, we believe podcasts are growing in popularity for sure.
Mhm.
While the smallest slice of the pie would be people of age 55 and older, they're
Yeah.
still looking at a potential audience and picking up the next level below that, the 35 to 54
Right.
category of listeners, if you will, that would listen to these podcasts.
Mhm.
Taken together, these two groups would probably make about half of the pie of who you're trying to reach.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
it's so
The
it's
podcast
funny.
part,
Yeah.
I'm going to interject here. The podcast part is very interesting, because you can take, like our interview today, you
Mm-hmm.
can take that, break it out
Right.
into different audiograms or videograms. You can get a month of content just based on our conversation for, whatever time we're talking, 45 minutes to an hour.
And there's no doubt, and you can then use that as
Yes.
marketing pieces, as posts on your array of social media channels.
Right. And it's
Um,
offering valuable content. It's
exactly,
That's
exactly.
what
It's
marketing has to be. It can't be anymore. You're just, oh, great. We're the best company in the world. We offer this product. It's more, hey, this is about our subscribers. They're
right,
BPA audited. We're at 66 plus thousand.
right, right. No, there's no doubt about it. There's no single media platform, I
Yeah.
think, that has exclusive rights to a magic bullet for marketing.
Yes.
But it's about how you structure your marketing package and your strategy. You have to utilize all of those
Yeah.
channels, and then you get those demographics. You hit them. Now, but what do you know about your audience? It's
Yeah.
what do you know? You look at the BPA statement, going back to that concept, and
Yes.
you look at it and you go, okay, well, these are the guys that are reading it. These are the owners, the managers. Well, they're typically going to be in that slightly
Yeah.
older, the my
Yeah.
demographic that I
Yeah.
like to say. So those are the guys, but there's newer, younger guys that are in those positions as well, and company owners or vice presidents of marketing or what have you, and some of them are way more digitally focused because
Right.
they
But they still all have the same challenges and
yes.
goals as each other.
Mm,
And if you know this is about really knowing your target audience, you can create content that speaks directly to those individuals.
yeah, yeah,
It doesn't matter if you're 20 or you're 100,
right,
you're going
right,
to be interested in that information.
absolutely, absolutely. And so it's kind of funny. I talk about the audited circulation, the audited audience
Yeah.
reports that we get through BPA. You can also see through an owner statement that is required by United States Postal Service to be
Right.
published in for us, it's in October, but I don't know if that's,
I
you
don't
have to have
know,
it in
but-
October. We've done it that way for forever.
Yeah.
Anyways, but in the owner statement, it has to break out, what is your circulation and what have you.
Okay.
So there is an element where just about any magazine, any publisher can print and say what they want, but if they're not in the BPA, it's only worth as much as the paper it's printed on,
And
so.
that's when people have to do their digging and their due
Right.
diligence to
Yeah.
find out exactly who's receiving the magazine,
Audience
how come they
education.
receive it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is.
Yeah. So
Well,
audience
Ken,
is king.
Ken, I want to thank you so much for all your time today. It was enlightening to hear how you've closed that gap between the C-level and the sales. I love that boots on the ground,
Right.
because you're right. You're right there. You're hearing what they're saying. And then you can also help your sales team with issues you might be having in selling, and it helps
Well,
them.
there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about it. When you're swimming in the same bowl of soup, you don't want to get drowned by a crouton that falls on you. So, well, thank you so much for having me. Cutting Tool Engineering appreciates it. Ken, I appreciate it too, Donna. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And I hope to see Cutting Tool Engineering to continue to grow into the future.
Well, so do I. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss our next episode. And in the meantime, if you'd like to talk to me, please feel free to send me an email to dpeterson@worldinnovators.com. Till next time, have a great day.